There were three things Kiki Xochicale hated most in life. The first was the sound of her real name. It was her mother's name, and one she didn't want to be reminded of daily. She preferred Kiki, though the commander of her regiment seemed to relish in Kiki's discomfort and used her real name anyway. The second thing Kiki hated was Solana Ramirez, the very commander responsible for Kiki's assignment on the wall tonight, despite it being her 9th night on watch in a row. Kiki stood along the ramparts of the single most treacherous stretch of wall, closest to the cicatrix, a strip of darkness that stretched the length of Ocero and split it in half, north to south. The third thing Kiki hated was the monsters that crept from the shadowy depths of the cicatrix. As an attendant in the Demon Corps, it was Kiki's job to kill whatever traipsed out of the cicatrix. Her hatred of the wraiths that occasionally ventured out of the depths of hell shouldn't have come as a surprise to anyone. Kiki, however, had a burning hatred for the divide that had ripped across the kingdom 15 years ago. She'd lost her parents to the divide, and the rest of her family with them, at the tender age of 5. To make it worse, it wasn't like her family was simply on the other side of the darkness, and all Kiki had to do was pay a couple of 100 pieces of gold to charter a boat through the Southern Sea to go around the cicatrix. In any case, such a sum would be nearly impossible for someone like her to scrounge. Still, at the very least, the task would be somewhat possible, if not probable. No. The problem was that the day the land was torn apart by the darkness, it took her entire family with it. "You're doing it again," said a voice nearby. Kiki glanced at her best friend. Yarixa's cheeks were already pink from the cold, and she wore her brown hair plaited into twin braids that ran the length of her spine and ended at the weapons belt, slung low over her hips. Across her chest, Yarixa wore a bandolier of small obsidian tlasons. Each throwing lance was the length of Kiki's palm, with an arrow-pointed tip. Like Kiki, Yarixa wore the black leathers of an attendant in the Demon Corps. Attendants were slayers in training and were required to patrol the wall, along with the rest of the full-fledged slayers. Kiki ran a finger along the rows of tlasons strapped across her own chest, the act providing some much-needed comfort while being this close to the cicatrix. When thrown with precision, the tlasons were lethal and could stop a demon in its tracks. Still, Kiki preferred close-quarter combat when given a chance. She checked that her machete was clear in its sheath as the moonlight glinted across the obsidian blade.